What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA playoffs. Monday, April 18th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, NBA playoffs. We have a 3-game slate tonight. So let's take a look at the point guard position. I like Mike Conley from the Utah Jazz playing the Dallas Mavericks. Mike Conley has averaged 29.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 30.6 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.5 times value. He's $5,600 DraftKings salary, $400 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 205.5 points scored in this game, and Mike Conley has scored 26, 30, and 32 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 25, and 33 minutes. So I like Mike Conley here versus the Dallas Cowboys. Now I also like Monte Morris from the the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Mavericks. So I also like Monte Morris from the Denver Nuggets playing the Golden State Warriors. And Monte Morris has averaged 25.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with an 18% usage rate. He's projected at 29.4 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 6 times value. He's $4,900 DraftKings salary, $200 more on FanDuel. Monte Morris has scored 27 and 22 fantasy points in the last 2 games, playing 31 and 24 minutes. So I think it's hard to get decent value in the playoffs, guys that are going to be playing 30 plus minutes for under 5K. So Monte Morris, I think he's in a good spot for a decent value play here tonight. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 224 points scored in this game. Looks like it's the highest scoring game on the slate. So I like Monte Morris here versus the Golden State Warriors. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. So here's a stud who I think is underpriced. I like James Harden from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Toronto Raptors. James Harden has averaged 50.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 37 minutes per game with a 28% usage rate. He's projected at 54.6 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.9 times value. He's $9,300 DraftKings salary, $400 more on FanDuel. James Harden scored 56 and 48 fantasy points in his last 2 games, playing 40 and 38 minutes. So James Harden has clear 50 plus fantasy point upside. You know he's going to play around 40 minutes, so he's going to be playing monster minutes, and he's got monster upside. I just think his salary should be closer to 10K, so I think he's underpriced. So I like James Harden here versus the Toronto Raptors. Now I also like Spencer Dinwiddie from the Dallas Mavericks playing the Utah Jazz. Spencer Dinwiddie has averaged 28.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He scored 39 fantasy points last game. He played 36 minutes, projected at 35.7 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.4 times value. He's $6,600 DraftKings salary, $400 more on FanDuel. So I like Spencer Dinwiddie here versus the Utah Jazz. Now I also like Will Barton from the Denver Nuggets playing the Golden State Warriors. Will Barton has averaged 29.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 30.7 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.6 times value. He's 5,500 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel. Will Barton scored 41 fantasy points last game, played 35 minutes, and it's in this high-scoring game. Vegas thinks there's going to be 224 points scored in this game. So I like Will Barton here versus the Golden State Warriors.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like OG Anunoby from the Toronto Raptors playing the Philadelphia 76ers. OG Anunoby has averaged 32.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 36 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 31.5 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.4 times value. He's 5,800 DraftKings salary, 300 more on FanDuel. OG Anunoby scored 32 fantasy points in 32 minutes last game. So I like OG Anunoby here versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Now another guy that's been playing well is Bojan Bogdanovic. He scored 40 fantasy points last game, played 40 minutes. He's 5,700 DraftKings salary, 500 more on FanDuel. Let's say he goes out there and scores 30 fantasy points tonight. That would be 5.2 times value. So I think he's a good pick. Like if you don't want to go with OG Anunoby, you could substitute in Bojan Bogdanovic here versus the Dallas Mavericks. But if you wanted to save some salary and go with a guy that's got similar upside, take a look at Dorian Finney-Smith from the Dallas Mavericks playing the Utah Jazz. Dorian Finney-Smith scored 29 fantasy points last game, played 44 minutes, projected at 27.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's 5,200 DraftKings salary, 100 more on FanDuel. So it just kind of depends on how your lineup builds out. If you get to the last guy and you have 57, 5,800, go ahead with OG or Bojan Bogdanovic. But if you're strapped for salary in that last spot, I think this is a pretty good fill-in here at 5,200 DraftKings salary and 100 more on FanDuel. So I like Dorian Finney-Smith as a value play here versus the Utah Jazz. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. Okay, now here is a high-risk, high-reward value play. This guy can totally break your lineup, but he is going to be playing close to 30 minutes. So if he can score some points, get a steal, get a block, get a whatever, rack up some points, could find himself in a good spot here. So take a look at Royce O'Neal from the Utah Jazz playing the Dallas Mavericks. Royce O'Neal averaged 20.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 10% usage rate. Now, he has not played well the last 3 games, only scored 14, 9, and 8 fantasy points in the last 3 games, but he played 30, 27, and 28 minutes. So he's projected under his season average here at 19.2 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.1 times value. He's 3,800 DraftKings salary, 100 less on FanDuel. So this is a high risk, high reward value play. But take a look at Royce O'Neal. If you want a guy that's going to be out there for close to 30 minutes so you can fit some more studs in your lineup, I like Royce O'Neal as a value play here versus the Dallas Mavericks.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, moving on to the center position. So you got a couple of studs here, Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. Both these guys in good spots. So Nikola Jokic, he's from the Denver Nuggets playing the Golden State Warriors, and Jokic has averaged 61.3 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 33 minutes per game with a 32% usage rate, projected at 63.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.8 times value. He's 11,000 DraftKings salary, 700 more on FanDuel, scored 55 and 75 fantasy points in his last two games, playing 34 and 35 minutes. So I like Nikola Jokic here versus the Golden State Warriors. Now I also like Joel Embiid from the Philadelphia 76ers playing the Toronto Raptors. Joel Embiid has averaged 56.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 34 minutes per game with a 37% usage rate. He's projected at 59.9 fantasy points here tonight, and that's 5.6 times value. He's 10,700 DraftKings salary, 300 more on FanDuel. And Joel Embiid scored 47 and 76 fantasy points in the last two games, playing 37 and 36 minutes. So I like Joel Embiid here versus the Toronto Raptors. Now I think I jinxed this next player in my last video. I went over his fantasy points for the last 20 games or something like that, and just kind of showed why he was underpriced. He's a super consistent fantasy player, although he had a kind of a bum game last game, only 32 fantasy points in 35 minutes. But I'm going to roll with him again here tonight. I like Rudy Gobert from the Utah Jazz playing the Dallas Mavericks. And Rudy Gobert has averaged 41.4 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 17% usage rate. He's projected at 41.1 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.3 times value. He's 7,800 DraftKings salary, 100 less on FanDuel. Rudy Gobert has scored 32, 40, and 36 fantasy points in the last three games, playing 35, 29, and 33 minutes. So I like Rudy Gobert here versus the Dallas Mavericks.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.